Hello and welcome to Agenda 2030. I am Toyin Nkamiang John. On this week's episode, we will be bringing you the second phase of the strategic roles the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on SDGs is playing in tackling some of the issues highlighted in the areas of child labor, education, and food security in Nigeria. This is projected through a documentary drama put together by the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on SDGs, as presented by our celebrity host, Desmond Elliott. First, we'll join Adesuwa Osiyi as she brings you briefs on trending stories on the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals across the world. To stay with us.
Thanks for staying with us. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has assured the President-elect of the 74th United Nations General Assembly, Ambassador Tijani Mohamed Bande, of his support. Guterres, who gave the assurance in a statement after the election of Mohamed Bande at the 87th plenary meeting of the UNGA, said, "Mr. President-elect, we all look forward to working with you, and you can count on my support as we strive to reach our shared goals and uphold universal value." A group of young SDGs advocates has revealed plans to ensure the commitment of over 5,000 civil servants in efforts to achieve the 2030 agenda through its SDGs action letters. The group, which goes by the name SDGs Story Group, led by Semiye Michael, its initiator and team leader, recently hosted a community of young people who are passionate about mobilizing action for the Sustainable Development Goals in Nigeria through social networking and storytelling. The group said it also plans to host the second edition of its 500 youth participants National SDG Story Summit to identify and celebrate the best of actions taken by young people for the goals. The global community marked the World Ocean Day and World Environment Day last week with calls for action that will lead to reduction in pollution of ocean and environment by all stakeholders. Leading the call for change of attitude was the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres. In his message on World Ocean Day, the UN Secretary General noted that pollution and climate change impacts on the oceans have a disproportionate effect on women. According to him, though women represent half the workforce engaged in catching and harvesting of wild and farmed fish, they are paid substantially less than men and are segregated to low-skilled and unrecognized labor, such as fish processing. He therefore urged the international community to promote gender equality and the rights of women and girls as a crucial contribution to meeting the ocean challenges. Also speaking in a statement issued to mark the 2019 World Environment Day, the United Nations Secretary General noted that an estimated 9 out of 10 people worldwide are exposed to air pollutants that exceeded World Health Organization's air quality guidelines. He implored people around the world to change habits that harm the air so as to reduce pollution and beat climate change. Two non-governmental organizations, Action Aid and Fahimta Women and Youth Development Initiative, have raised alarm that a sharp shortfall in allocation to agriculture in the 2019 budget can increase the level of poverty in the country. The NGOs warned that continuous low funding of the agricultural sector would foster poverty in the society. Experts have linked poverty in the continent to derailment from the 2003 Maputo Declaration on Agriculture and Food Security, where it was unanimously agreed to allocate 10% of annual budgets to the agricultural sector across African countries. Lastly, on aviation, Alexandre Dejuniek, Chief Executive of the International Air Transport Association, at a meeting with members of the association recently in Seoul, South Korea, said the airline industry is under pressure from climate activists due to carbon emissions from aircraft. In recent months, climate activists have stepped up efforts to convince travelers to boycott air travel over carbon emissions. But operators in the airline industry said, while they are ready to reduce emissions, the technology needed to drastically reduce carbon footprints from aviation operation is still out of reach. And that's the news in brief.
Agenda 2030. As a successor framework for the Millennium Development Goals, the global community rolled out a bigger, deeper, and more encompassing framework called the Sustainable Development Goals, designed to transform our world, lift the poor out of poverty, as well as ensure inclusive and healthy society. On Agenda 2030, we take you on a media trip to the global destination of the future we want. With everyone on board, we focus on the people and their struggle, the civil society and their agitations, the government and her development effort, the global development agenda, its 17 goals and 169 targets. We bring you all the deliberations, insightful conversations and high-level partnerships on the road to global destination. Agenda 2030, showing on this channel. Agenda 2030, leaving no one behind.
Welcome back. Remember, you can always watch the program and other episodes by subscribing to our YouTube channels on youtube.com/Fresh News TV and youtube.com/Agenda 2030 TV. You can also watch the program live on Facebook. Just log on to www.facebook.com/Fresh News NG and www.facebook.com/Agenda 2030 TV. Follow us on all our social media platforms at Agenda 2030 TV on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Remember to drop your comments and share with your contacts. Do use the hashtag Agenda 2030 and hashtag Agenda 2030 TV. Nigeria's permanent representative to the United Nations, Ambassador Tijani Mohammed Bande, was elected the 74th President of the United Nations General Assembly at the 87th plenary meeting of the Assembly in New York recently. Ambassador Bande, who will be inaugurated in September, is the second Nigerian to hold the office after Joseph Garba, retired military officer and diplomat who led the organ between 1989 and 1990. Nigeria's current UN permanent representative was elected to head the world's body by acclamation in New York and will succeed Ecuadorian Maria Fernanda Espinosa. In his acceptance speech, he pledged to make peace and security, poverty eradication, zero hunger, quality education, climate change and inclusion a major priority of his presidency.
I'm honored by the trust you have placed in me through my election by acclamation to the position of President of the General Assembly for its 74th session. I'm grateful to the Federal Republic of Nigeria for nominating me for this esteemed position, to the African Group for endorsing my candidacy, and to all member states for extending their priceless support. I congratulate President Espinosa for her tireless efforts to guide our work through the current session and thank the Secretary General for his leadership at this critical moment for the United Nations. Dear colleagues, as I announced in my vision statement and during the interactive dialogue on 13th May, the implementation of existing mandates and the 2030 agenda, with particular focus on peace and security, poverty eradication, zero hunger, quality education, climate action and inclusion will constitute the major priority of my presidency. Accordingly, the higher-level political forum to be convened during the 74th session of the General Assembly, the Secretary General Climate Summit in September, the high-level events on universal health coverage, financing for development, and the Samoa Pathway, the Second Ocean Conference in Lisbon, the commemoration of Beijing Plus 25, and all other important meetings during the 74th session provide major opportunities to promote the implementation of our goals and targets, and we must seize each of those opportunities to galvanize political momentum and action at the highest level. I'm committed to promoting partnerships that are needed from all stakeholders to achieve our objectives, and ultimately ensure that we do our best to ensure peace and prosperity, particularly for the most vulnerable. Madam President, we must continue to invest in sustaining peace and conflict prevention, given that our organization strives to, quote-unquote, save succeeding generations from the scourge of war. As the United Nations has not met the expectations of its founding fathers in terms of preventing many violent conflicts and mass atrocities, we have to assume collective responsibility to make the world a better, safer, and more peaceful one. The promotion of human rights and the empowerment of women and youth deserve special attention, and I will be devoted to the promotion of gender parity throughout the whole UN system, starting from my own office. Your Excellencies, will commemorate the 75th anniversary of the creation of the United Nations next year. This presents a unique opportunity for us to reduce the trust deficit between nations, as we all share the same aspirations and we have no choice but to work together. If we will achieve the visions of our founding fathers, we must ensure that indifference and racism do not creep into our organization. The General Assembly must play its role in bridging the gaps and promoting collective action to address all international issues that deserve attention, with close coordination and collaboration with the Secretary General, Security Council, and ECOSOC. Excellencies, in the coming weeks and during my presidency, I'll count on the support and solidarity of all member states, as well as the Secretariat. I shall explore the robust potential of the convening platform of the Office of the President of the General Assembly and use its advocacy tools to promote multilateral approach to finding workable solutions to the issues confronting us. I will work with member states on streamlining our work and improving the way we do business at the UN. As most of us have drawn attention to the growing number of events, with the attendant risk of undermining genuine dialogue and overstretching delegations, I'll work with you all on appropriate solutions, as I believe we must make the United Nations more efficient, effective, and accountable to the people we serve. Finally, Madam President, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to reiterate that as President of the 74th session of the General Assembly, openness, inclusivity, and transparency will guide all actions of the Office of the President of the General Assembly. I thank you for your kind attention.
And the election of Ambassador Tijani Bande as the President of the United Nations General Assembly has been generating reactions from stakeholders. Awul Musa Rafsanjani, the Executive Director of Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, CISLAC, a civil society group, in an interview with Agenda 2030 team, commended the appointment of Ambassador Bande and highlighted the prospects for Nigeria, especially in the aspect of attaining the United Nations global goals for sustainable development in Nigeria. Take a listen.
His career as intellectual has been very friendly. He has been someone who has the interests of this country and Africa at large, and therefore I'm very certain that his role that he's going to play in the General Assembly will also have the interests of Africa and Nigeria in particular. Particularly, Africa is facing serious insecurity challenges, issues of deficit in our development framework, issues of poverty, and lacking also in the area of economic empowerment. So as the President of the General Assembly, I believe that he is going to pay attention to peaceful coexistence in Africa and also creating economic opportunity for many African countries to be able to compete with the global world and address the issues of inequality, injustice, poverty, and like I said, ensure peaceful coexistence within the African continent. Nigeria is lucky to have a Nigerian in that position. In addition to him being there, Amina Mohammed, who is the Deputy General Secretary, is also from Nigeria. So it's a double opportunity Nigeria has, and Nigeria has to utilize these two, powerful individuals that have actually excelled and that have demonstrated commitment and interest to ensure implementation of sustainable development goal in Nigeria. And with the two of them being there, I believe that it is an opportunity for Nigeria to harness its resources, its effort to ensure that all the deficit we have in our developmental effort are actually addressed. Look, this kind of opportunity, they don't come all the times. So it is important that Nigeria take advantage of these good golden opportunities that we have of having Professor Tijani Bande, who is committed, patriotic, and very, 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 credible, in discharging his responsibility to see that Nigeria take advantage of his being there, because I know he will be there for the country, he will be there for the continent of Africa, as he has been doing even in his other capacities. For us, in CISLAC, just like many other civil society in Africa, we actually welcome this development of his emergence as the President of General Assembly, because we know he believes in civil society mainstreaming, involvement, and working with other non-state actors to be able to ensure development in Africa and globally. So his election is going to widen up, and give more space for civil society involvement in the United Nations discourse, because many civil society organizations will be happy to key in and support the efforts of his agenda, which is really basically about development, peace and security, and of course sustainable, implementation of sustainable development goal. So civil society, CISLAC, and many other civil society in the world will definitely support his effort to see that he succeed. As a matter of fact, CISLAC is organizing a side event during the High Political Forum in July to present, yet another report on Goal 16 of the SDG, and bringing in also other countries, like Mexico, Argentina, other African countries. CISLAC, along together with other Transparency International chapters, are putting together this event in New York. So we would definitely work together with the President of the General Assembly to ensure that sustainable development goal is kept on the agenda.
We now join Desmond Elliott as he takes us through the second phase of the documentary drama on some of the interventions taken by the federal government and coordinated by Princess Adejoke Orelokwe Adefulire-led Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on SDGs in partnering with key stakeholders.
Health, they say, is wealth, and a wealthy mind lives in a healthy body. This government is very much concerned about the health and well-being of its citizens, especially the children. Through the Sustainable Development Goals, this government has made the well-being of children its priority, because this government understands that children are our future. Combating major diseases such as HIV, AIDS, and others is also a priority to this government.
Well done. How is Paul feeling now?
Still the same thing. I'm tired.
What did they say at the hospital?
I didn't go to any hospital.
So you mean you have been keeping this boy in the house?
I didn't just keep him in the house. I've been giving herbs and drugs.
That is self-medication.
What's wrong with that?
Everything is wrong with self-medication. Moreover, if you take him to the hospital, they will take the necessary tests and prescribe the right drugs.
I don't have much money to spend in any hospital.
How much will you spend? How much will you spend? Remember, this is what you did that made you to lose a twin sister. Do you want to lose this one?
God forbid.
Then take him to the hospital. You don't need to have much money to access quality medical service. The government, as part of the Sustainable Development Goals, had made it so easy to have access to quality medical services, not just for children and women, but for all.
Really?
Yes.
citizens' well-being is a right, it's not a privilege. And that is underscored by the fact that even the SDGs and the African Agenda 2063 places premium on human capital. And of course, you would agree with me that any nations that aspires to grow and develop and to become developed and to have equitable wealth, obviously would have to put at the front burner the health and well-being of its citizens.
According to the great William Shakespeare, there is no darkness anywhere except ignorance. Ignorance keeps a people in captivity and repels development. The only solution to ignorance is education.
The goal 1, goal 2, goal 3, goal 4, all the way to goal 5 are very interwoven. Goal 1 is no poverty. You won't have poverty if you are educated. I'm talking about goal 4. If you are educated, you won't have poverty. At least have basic education and learn a skill. You with your hands, you will have something doing and you will not have poverty. If only we can get back, your children can get back to school to be educated.
One of the crucial SDGs that have spillover effect on the other SDGs is actually goal number 4, that of quality education for all. And within that target, you will see that there is need to provide not only training for qualitative education for all children, but also vocational training for men and women so that they are able to maximize their full potential in the concept of human capability. Therefore, education is key to the achievement of most of the Sustainable Development Goals.
Our Excellency, the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sustainable Development Goals, in an international forum in China, met with some group of investors, the Net Dragon, and the 21st century learning process. She shared experience with this group of experts, and she convinced and brought them to Nigeria last year, and they were hosted by the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo. And we have a flagship program of a smart model basic school in Abuja. And we are working hard to see how we would take the parent ministry, the agency responsible for basic education, and the subnational level governance structure to buy into this process.
Nigeria will continue to support the United Nations in all its efforts, including the attainment of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. I thank you.
Agenda 2030, showing on this channel. Agenda 2030, leaving no one behind.
And that's our package. Remember, you can always watch this program and other episodes by subscribing to our YouTube channels on youtube.com/FreshNewsTV and youtube.com/Agenda 2030 TV. You can also watch the program live on Facebook. Just log on to www.facebook.com/FreshNewsNG and www.facebook.com/Agenda 2030 TV. Follow us on all our social media platforms at Agenda 2030 TV on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Remember to drop your comments and share with your contacts. Do use the hashtag Agenda 2030 TV and hashtag Agenda 2030 TV. Thank you so much for being part of this week's episode. I am Toyin Nkamiang John. See you again next week.